Hey guys, it's Jess from Peace Love Books and today I'm here with my August wrap-up. So in August I read a total of 13 books, but 9 of them were audiobooks. So without audiobooks, I would have definitely failed at reading this month. You guys all already know I moved houses and I started school, and so when we got possession of our house, we decided to repaint everything. And so for probably a week straight, I was spending around 6 to 8 hours painting and cleaning the house. And let me tell you, in this room, it was the baby room, and they had these gold stickers, like a ton clustered in the corner to like fall out. And those took me at least probably like 2 to 3 hours to peel off and clean the wall to get the sticky residue off. It was a pain. I was using the Gooby Gone stuff and it was just like taking forever to clean it and making sure the walls were clean. There was a lot of stuff to do. So I would get through an audiobook like every day and a half, and I was dominating audiobooks. But I will go ahead and get to the books that I read this August. The first one I actually talked about at the very end of my July wrap-up, so I'm not going to talk about that this month, but that is Secrets of a Summer Night by Lisa Kleypas. That was the book 1, I think, in the Wallflower series. It was really cute, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So these books I read during the Booktubeathon, which I'll link my vlog down below so you can see me talking about them while I read them. The next book I read was Stay With Me by Malika. This is book 2 in the series, and this I think is the best friend of the girl in the first book, and so they're all military romances. Our main character's name is Dee Dee, and she is training to be a psychologist because both of her parents are, I believe. They're different like specialties, but I know at least her father is a psychologist and he actually works at a military hospital, and she is shadowing him working there, and it's like an internship, and she becomes friends with, I think it's Noel. It's N-O-E-L, and that's Noel, but I don't know any boys named Noel, so I don't know if it's a normal boy's name, Noel. I know girl Noels, but it's not spelled like the Christmas Noel. But whatever. So Noel cannot see anything because he was in a horrible accident while he was overseas, and I don't want to spoil anything, but he feels like it's all his fault, and his best friend, who was part of his unit, I guess, is also at the hospital with him, and his best friend had lost some limbs, and the only thing wrong with Noel right now though is that he is definitely scarred, but he can't see, and so he is so angry at the world, and Dee Dee and him, I don't want to spoil anything, I'm just saying that it is their romance, and it is so good. This was quickly becoming one of my favorite reads of the entire year, and then about halfway through, the ending did not pan out the way I wanted it to, like the timing wise and everything like that, and I wasn't really feeling it, but I still give it 5 out of 5 stars because I was literally obsessed with this book. I loved their chemistry. I loved the fact that they were trying not to fall for each other because it's kind of professional boundaries for Dee Dee, and then Noel was still like, I'm not allowed to be happy because of what happened. It was really good. 5 out of 5 stars. So that was the only actual physical book I read this month, which is crazy to think about. And so I have a list of books to show you now, and I'm trying to work on the glare on my iPad, so I'm sorry if that's annoying in this video. The next book I listened to was Royally Matched by Emma Chase. This is book 2 in the series. I read book 1 a long time ago, and this one's actually about Henry, who it was supposed to be the like spare, when you know you have like an heir and a spare as like a royal couple, but his brother decided to renounce the crown when he fell in love with someone who was a commoner from America, and so the crown fell to Henry, and so he's normally like the playboy, not taking anything seriously, and now he has to, and they decided to have a royally matched bachelor where women come to the palace, and I think a palace, it's not the actual palace because the queen doesn't know about it, and they are dating him. And so this girl's a librarian and she hates public speaking, and she realizes that in order to get out of a big presentation she has to give at work, she can help her sister go on this royal reality show, and so she does, and then she ends up falling for Henry and Henry falls for her, and she's like the quiet and reserved type. She loves her books, and so I really enjoyed this. I will say there were a lot of references to literary characters, which as an English literature minor and English teacher, I loved it. There were a few that I haven't read that I didn't get. I think some Charles Dickens books. I've never read Charles Dickens, so some of those flew over my head, but like all the Rochester and Darcy references I totally got. But I really enjoyed her character. I did just think that if you aren't a literature buff, then you might not connect well with her. But it was a really cute romance. It was a little slow, and like I didn't really get as much bachelor as I wanted to, like I thought I would, because he like wasn't even interested in any of the girls that were there, and it wasn't really realistic because I was like, wouldn't you be expected to like them? I don't know. So I enjoyed it, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read on audio was Rhythm, Chord, and Malika. I always thought it was Malikin, but the audiobook narrator said Malikan. And this is a rockstar romance by Mariana Zapata. I love her books. And this one's about Gabby, who something happened. I don't remember what happened at the beginning of the book, but she decides to go, I think she gets fired. And so she decides to go on the road with her brother who's in a band and be their like merchandise person and sell their shirts. And they're on the road with this guy's band who is Sacha. I don't know if it's Sasha or Sacha because he's Russian. And it's their romance. They end up touring all over the world. Her ex-boyfriend comes into the picture, and it's just, I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that the friendships and relationships she has with people are not what I normally find in Mariana Zapata books. They're really immature, but it's because they've grown up together, so that's why, but I still give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was an e-arc from R.S. Gray, and that is Not So Nice Guy by R.S. Gray. This one did amazing on the Amazon top-selling charts, so I'm so proud of Rachel for how well her book did. I was super excited for this. It's about 2 teachers. Samantha and Ian are teachers at the same high school, and they became best friends like the first day of orientation of being new teachers at this district. They have never gone further than friendship, even though Samantha has the biggest crush on Ian. There's something in their past as friends where she remembers vividly of her. It was Halloween and she's like, oh, maybe it'll like something will happen, and then like he totally friend zones her. And so I really enjoyed this. It is a friends to lovers romance, and of course R.S. Gray has a really great rom-com. I will say though, like everyone else, there was something that happened about 75% of the way through the plot, and I was just like, really? It was so far-fetched and stupid, and I was just like, I just can't. So I dropped it down to a 4 stars. The beginning was so funny, so relatable. I loved it, and I was so ready to give this 5 stars, and then that happened, and I dropped it down to a 4. I do apologize. The sun decided to go behind a cloud, so everything just turned blue, but what can you do? The next book I listened on an audio, and I will tell you, this was such a disappointment. I rarely give anything below a 3 stars. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that. I give this book a 2 star, and that is Savage Prince by Megan March. This is book 1 in the series. People rave about her books. It was super short, so that's why I decided to listen to it on audio. I think it was like 7 or 8 parts, and normally books I listen to are like 10 or 11. This book did not know what it wanted to be. It was all over the place. We have this girl named Temperance who, sorry, I've never heard that name before, so I'm just trying to remember how to say it. Her name's Temperance, and she is like the person who sells like alcohol, I forget what kind it is, to like businesses. And so she shows up to this business, and it ends up being a place like where like scandalous stuff happens, and she like meets this guy, and then like apparently she has connections with like the mob or something, and her brother's in trouble, and then like she has cop friends, and like, I don't know, someone steals her car, and so she like asks her cop friend for help, and then she asks her mob friend for help, and I was just like, whoa. Oh, and she's some artist who like is about to make her big break, I guess, because like one of her paintings or sculptures was accidentally put in an art show. It was weird. It was all over the place. I was like, what the heck is this book? What is going on? I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. The next book I decided to listen to was Finding Dandelion by Lex Martin. Lex Martin is one of my favorite authors, and this one is book 2 in this series, and so it is, what is Clementine. It is Clementine's brother's book, and so this girl is roommates with Clementine, and her and Jax on it's his birthday, in a club, they hook up, and she's like, this guy is like too good to be true, and she didn't know who he was. And then like fast forward, I don't know, like a couple weeks, she meets him again as Clementine's brother, and she's like, oh my god, what'd I do? Like, I'm betraying my best friend, or one of my really good friends. They're not really best friends yet, and he has no idea who she is, and she's like, oh my god, like how horrifying. And she is trying to hide her attraction from him, and it's their romance. It's super cute. Jax is a soccer player, and he goes to a different school, and Danny does not know. Danny's still trying to show Clementine she's a good friend, so she doesn't want to betray her friendship by falling for her brother. Super cute romance. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I listened to because one of my friends from Instagram was raving about this. It's a historical romance, my first time listening to a historical romance, and that is Dearest Rogue by Elizabeth Hoyt. This one is about a woman named Lady Phoebe, and she's actually blind. She's been losing her eyesight since her teenage years, and she's like 21, I think, and she is a feisty woman, and I love her. And she has a bodyguard, or someone to always make sure she's okay, who is James Trevelyan, and he actually was injured, and he was in the military, and he is a big brooding man, and she loves to poke fun at him, and it's their romance. And so he has a limp and she's blind, so they kind of connect, and incapacities, whatever, disabilities at that time period is what they were considered. And someone is trying to come after her and kidnap her or kill her because of something. They don't know who's trying to. They believe it's because of her older brother, who is, I believe, like super high up in the hierarchy of politics or something. I don't remember that part clearly, but James is determined to keep her safe, and he always feels like he fails her when someone comes close to trying to kidnap her, and it's terrifying for her because she's blind, but she's still feisty. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Really great historical romance. The next book I read was another by Lex Martin. This is book 3 in the series, and that is Kissing Madeline. And what happens in this book is that this is about Darren, who was Clementine's ex-boyfriend from book 1 and Jax's best friend from book 2. And so this is about Madeline, who is a sportscaster. She actually wants to be a news reporter, and she's kind of thrown into the position of doing the segment of interviewing Darren, who is the new hotshot quarterback. I think he's a quarterback, whatever, hotshot football player on the team, and it's a segment where she has to act like she knows nothing and he's introducing her to the sport, and they have really amazing banter together, and he is really into her, but she's like, I don't want to lose my job, and she just got out of a really bad relationship with another athlete who was an MMA fighter, and so it's their romance. So cute. I loved how we were getting out of the college stages because they are pretty much adults now. They have their own jobs. They're out of college. I loved it. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. There was so much drama, and it was so good. Next book I read was Grip by Kennedy Ryan, and this is the story about Bristol and Grip. Grip is his like nickname. He's a rapper now, and so Flow, I believe, was the prequel, and that was like years before this book took place. So now they're adults, and before I think they were both in college, or possibly Bristol was in high school, I don't remember. But Grip's Bristol's brother's best friend, and she is now a music manager, which she really wanted to do in the prequel, and the prequel left on an insane cliffhanger, and so they obviously did not end up together after that prequel, and so this is them trying to figure out if they can be together or not, and Bristol is trying to deal with seeing him and promoting his music every single day and still avoiding falling in love with him, and it's their romance. I think that this was really good. I really liked the talk about race issues it talked about because she is white and he is black, and that issue did come up, and I think that her insecurities where it got a little annoying, and like, you're like, really, you're just now trying to just be annoying and not be with him. But I still enjoyed it. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, I got an e-arc from the publisher, and that is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This book is about Calla, who has lived in Canada pretty much her whole life. She left when she was, I think, 2 because her mom could not be with her dad anymore because he was an Alaskan pilot and was never home, and she hated the isolation of Alaska, so they moved, and now Calla is in her 20s. She just lost her job, and she gets a phone call saying her father's dying of cancer. So she decides to go to Alaska to get to know the man. She doesn't even remember what he looks like. They haven't spoken since she was in 8th grade, and she immediately meets Jonah, who is a grumpy pilot, and he will do anything to ruin her day. And everyone else is like, oh, Jonah's fabulous, what are you talking about? And so she is spending time getting to know her father, especially now that he has cancer and his health is declining, and she is trying to ignore these growing feelings for Jonah, who is infuriating but super attractive to her. Such a good romance. I absolutely love this. It was so captivating. I loved the setting of Alaska. That was so unique. It was amazing, and I loved how it was kind of like her parents' story repeating with her, falling for someone who you shouldn't be falling for because you know it'll never work out. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Play On by Samantha Young. I listened to this on audio and I had no idea what it was about, but I love Samantha Young, and so this is about Nora, who is trapped in a life in America because her dad has a disability because of his diabetes. So I think he lost his legs or something, and she feels like she can never go anywhere. She can't go to college. They don't have money. Her mom's miserable, always working, and so this Scottish guy shows up in her town, and they spend a day together, and they are instantly like pretty much in love with each other. They're like, what is this relationship? This is amazing. And he keeps on coming back and doesn't leave on their road trip like they're planning, until finally his friends are like, we have to leave, our money's gonna run out. And so then she decides to move to Scotland with him and marry him. And so that's not who she ends up with. I'm just going to say that. This is a very different romance than I was expecting. The pacing was really weird because like it's her, and I think she had already graduated high school when she moved to go to Scotland, and it like time jumped, and then like something happens, and then like there's a couple other time jumps, and I did enjoy it. But the pacing was weird, and it was not what I was expecting at all, because there's the other guy that she starts falling in love with later on. There's no cheating, I'll say that, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely a unique read and not what I was expecting. The next book I listened to was a reread, and that is Rival by Penelope Douglas. This is book 2 in the series, and this is Fallon and Maddox's story. Maddox is the best friend of Jared from book 1, and this lighting situation, I apologize. Wow, that sun really quickly went away, and because of my walls, it's like really blue tinted, but It's okay. So what happened was Fallon and Maddox are step-siblings, and so they lived together. Something happened in the past, their parents freaked, and Fallon was kind of shipped off and not allowed to come back. And now it's, I think, right before both of them are going to college, and she comes back and she's determined to face him, and it's their romance, and they hate each other, but they have this instant chemistry, and they're really confused about their past because they were so young when they were together that they really shouldn't have been doing what they were doing, and that's all I want to say. I enjoyed it, but I will say, like, this pacing was weird to me this time around, and, like, what happens at the end, I'm like, that really accelerated quickly. So I'm dropping my rating down to 4 stars. I don't think it's the 5 stars obsession I had when I first read it. This was the first Penelope Douglas book I read, so I think that's why I was so obsessed with it, but I think it's a 4-star for me now. The last book I finally read was The Chase by Elle Kennedy. This took me about 2 weeks to read, and it was amazing. So Summer is Dean's sister, and Dean is my favorite from the Off-Campus series, and so I love that his sister comes in. Normally I would hate a character like Summer because she's so life of the party, loves attention. She struggles in school, but I'll get to that in a second, and so I normally don't like her character, but she was so relatable because she's so open and honest to us as the reader about her learning disability and ADHD, and so she struggles so hard in school and she's so insecure about it. It's because of her learning disabilities that she struggles. She knows she's not stupid, but she has a hard time believing it. And so Fitz is the hockey player that she has always had a thing for, has always been attracted to, but he makes a comment about her being ditzy and fluffy, and she is just like so heartbroken. And then she ends up having to live with Fitz and his 3 roommates, which are 3 hockey players as well. His 2 roommates, there's 3 of them, they're all hockey players, and Summer and Fitz are dancing around each other this whole book. Oh my gosh, like, let me tell you, like, it's kind of slow burn. There's so much angst and so much just get together already because a lot of time passes in this book, but I loved it. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Fitz is just a dream. He is a good artist. He's really good at computers. He's making his own video game while being a really good hockey player, and I loved it. I loved seeing the team. I loved seeing them at practice. I love how Summer went to some games. It was amazing, and I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. And those are all the books that I read in the month of August. Let me know down below what you read or what you were excited for me to read. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.